You exist. Earth exists, as do trees, animals, and other people. Also, stars, planets, and galaxies in their various types exist. Consider all these things and anything else you could know of, or could imagine, or suppose. You would have something that you could call everything. Everything could also be called God, the cosmos, creation, the universe, the great Om. You can decide which term suits you best. It will hence be referred to as this symbol, which stands for the infinite, or infinity. We can see that the infinite is always changing and is not static. The infinite never repeats or is the same. All is change. There are cycles within the change, such as night and day, the seasons. But even these cycles are subject to change. Nothing in the infinite lasts forever. Although things may seem like they're final, like finished products, everything is also a process of changing and moving. As stated, because the infinite is everything, everything can be found in or comes from the infinite. Each thing is part of the greater infinity and cannot be cut away from the rest because the borders are indistinguishable despite often appearing like separate things. Despite this connection, we can only experience ourselves. Like a head on a coin, we need to explore and turn the coin. There's another side, everything else and everyone else. Both sides make the whole. Because of this situation, we sometimes think that we are alone in a cold, unfriendly world that we came into when we were born. But we're not alone. We were never separated. So, if you ever feel lonely, remember that you came from this world and are not a stranger to it. You are connected to, and you are part of the infinite. The earth is connected to, and part of the infinity. Animals are connected to, and part of the infinite. A tree is connected to, and part of the infinite. Everything deserves reverence, respect, and compassion, including you. Therefore, in the infinite, you are simultaneously separate and connected. We see that we have intelligence as sentient beings, as to other living things. Both animals and humans can think, feel, and respond and are, therefore, sentient. A human or animal, therefore, is the infinite being aware of itself. When we admire remarkable beauty, we experience the awesome feeling of reconnection to our origins in the infinite. You are the infinite knowing itself. When you're open to seeing it, you can see the infinite in yourself. Others are the infinite, and you can see the infinite in them when you're ready to see it. We see the infinite as others. We are all the infinite. This is the infinity. This is the infinity. This is the infinity. The human amnesia about the infinite. When we come from the infinite, we do not know how or why. we are told by others who arrived in the ages before us why we are here and what we must do. You are taught that you are in a competition and must compete and be something, or end up being worthless, even though you've always been worthwhile in something. We use the information we're given to make ourselves into a person. The word person comes from the Greek persona, which means mask. It is this mask that we present to the world as self. There are masks we use to fit in, although some choose a mask to fit out instead. Either way, both are masks. The mask is helpful because it assists us with getting along with others we agree with and makes us feel justified in being alone. Either way, the persona comes with many great skills. We can think, adapt, plan, and learn. We can use the mask to control and achieve things. From the mask, we can create great ideas that enrich humankind. Countries, cultures, philosophy, religions, economics, science, arts, and entertainment. Humanity can do great things. The choking mask. The collective wearing of the mask becomes a serious business we call society, in which we are obsessed with how others perceive us and keep our masks as we think they would want them. The various masks include real success, a real man, a real woman, and rebellious masks like renegade. But none of these masks are actually what we are. If we get too connected to our persona, we begin to forget that the mask is not truth or reality in and of itself. We forget that we have the freedom to shape the mask, or we forget more and more that we are connected to the infinite, earth, nature, and other people. This is because we've forgotten that the mask was a tool to have some degree of control over the world. However, this control is like a drug. We become addicted to controlling, but in fact, it's the mask that begins to control us. The mask has a restricted view of what is me and mine. It closes us off from a genuine experience of the world and from connecting to the infinite. We can become selfish and deeply unhappy because we feel separated, disappointed, and unsatisfied. Furthermore, controlling actions by a single person or collective of masks in the absence of remembering our connection to the infinite can lead to terrible things like crime, manipulation, dishonesty, exploitation, aggression, and war. The infinite will continue to exist in various manifestations in the future, regardless of whether we thrive or destroy ourselves. Therefore, we cannot expect the infinite to save us. However, the infinite is how we came to be here. It has given us the tools to save ourselves. The challenge. The mask, or persona, has sometimes been known as the ego, self, or our identity. The ego self tends to be fixed to titles like a name, an occupation, a perceived status, and a set of fixed and inflexible beliefs, whereas the infinite self, which, like the infinite, is not fixed at all. The infinite self is changing moment by moment. Thoughts and feelings come and go and are always changing. Because of the state of change, nothing is rigidly attached to or identified with. For this reason, the infinite self is peaceful, tranquil, unruffled, and spontaneous. We actually must be both the infinite self and the human mask at the same time. To be too attached to the persona, its thoughts and feelings are to become stale and inflexible to the changing of the infinite. Whilst everything appears to be great on the outside, we can be miserable inside. This manifests as sadness or depression. Anxiety has been described as the feeling that results when we either have a conflict between the mask and the infinite self, or we are flipping between the two, unsure of what we are feeling. We can start by noticing and experiencing this inner conflict without judging it as right or wrong. Abandoning the mask entirely is not an answer, as we need it to exist as humans. One use of the mask is that it is a shell that helps us feel less vulnerable in an often frightening world. To be only the infinite self alone would be to not be a functioning human at all. Some try to become nothing and attempt to cease to exist, but this is a trap, too. To be human is a great opportunity that is not to be wasted. To be human is to be more than a stationary thing. It is a process of action. To not become stale. We must remember both roles, play the roles of society, to be our authentic and awakened selves and to move between them flexibly. When we are awakened, there is a chance for us to be truly present and to connect genuinely with others. Of course, with many others we meet in life, we continue to use the mask because we know they cannot relate to others without it. We have come to understand that the affairs of the mask, opinions, conflicts, and politics are not to be taken personally. We become better at letting go, regardless of how others are attached to the mask. The mask mainly uses control to change things and is focused on obtaining a result or an end product, with little regard for the process by which this happens. An awakened person understands that both good products and good processes have value. And that a good process, being fair and compassionate, also tends to have a good outcome. The challenge is to find the middle road between wholesome being and wholesome doing. Returning to the infinite has been described as the Buddha nature, knowing you are from and connected to the great and subtle universe. Regaining presence and balance, returning to the higher self, regaining a sense of unity, self-transcendence, or simply learning to be, rather than always doing. Reconnecting helps you see that all of the wisdom, love, tranquility, and creativity you seek are already inside you and always have been. They only need to be freed. Reconnecting to the infinite reminds us that we need not believe all the mask's thoughts and can discover our underlying nature. Reconnecting also helps us recognize our mask from our infinite self and understand that the mask is necessary and normal. We start learning to be kind to it and ourselves, although this may take some time. How? Reconnecting can happen in so many ways. The first part is being open to reconnecting and having the right attitude. Almost any experience can connect us if we are willing to see the infinite and what we are doing. We begin to see the amazing in everything, whether talking, playing music, doing maths, and so on. Sometimes the mask turns contentment into something to be chased, or a mystery to be solved. However, contentment is neither of these. We don't need to strive or force ourselves to feel content. Contentment arises effortlessly when we let go of the mask. Stop trying so hard and reconnect with our natural, awakened selves. Other things that help include not trying too hard to reach the infinite state of mind. We need to be patient because unlearning old habits is a slow process. We can also turn off, unplug, slow down, and create a space to reconnect. Slowing the mind, slowing the breath. Every day, while doing ordinary things, we can take some moments to pause, creating space to reconnect. We can regularly connect to nature. Look for the infinite in the clouds, the sky, the waves of a lake, or at the beach. Maybe you will find it in a song. We make time for the task and are disciplined. We stop doing what doesn't help us and make time for a connection to happen naturally. We manage the process by experiencing the mind with kindness, patience, and without excessive striving. We can let it be light and enjoyable. As we watch our experiences coming and going, we start to see that they are impermanent, insubstantial, and do not have to define us and do not have to shape us. We manage the process by watching with kindness, with patience, as things rise and fall in our awareness. Without trying to change anything, we simply note our reactions and experiences and observe them. There are many paths to reconnection, through meditation, a smile, a hug, a loving touch, a poem, or words that bring peace. We can find ways to encourage them to do so. When the infinite happens, when we successfully reconnect to the infinite, we feel a sense of relief and joy to be free from the rigid mask. And we remember that we have a choice about our relationship to it. The awakened self is automatically compassionate, wise, patient, and grateful. It sees the interconnection in everything, both the ugly and the beautiful, the good and the bad, life and death. It considers the necessity of all things and can accept them. When we successfully reconnect to the infinite, we can understand others more deeply because we know they must also wear a mask. We start to feel that everything will be okay. We feel compassion for them because we know that wearing a mask is not always easy. We are careful about how we act and speak and have understanding attitudes towards them. We see that we are not all that different. We are all part of the infinite, part of the same team. We share the same core needs, and our differences seem trivial. We learn to be able to drop the mask and be real, even if just for a while. When we see the infinite, the planet, and everything around us provides for us, how other people work hard to provide us with water, food, and services, we become grateful. We feel kindness and compassion coming from the infinite. We are helped, and we help. Returning to the everyday. After reconnecting to the infinite, we learn to identify less with the fears of the mask and return to a more centered place. Instead, we know we need to follow the flow. We are patient, as we know this takes time to learn. When we don the mask again, we remember the mask is not the actual us. The true us is more magnificent. We return refreshed and more resilient. We can live without excessive attachment to how things go. We can still exist outside the game of personas and masks. Accepting and moving through the world of the mask. We are kind to ourselves when we feel trapped by the habits and thoughts of the persona, but we work patiently to let go of them and become untrapped. Once we see that the trap and the trapped are the same entity, we are released. We understand when others forget about the infinite because this is quickly done. We understand that many do not know and want to remember the infinite, and we know that this is okay. One of the joys of being human is being able to choose. We can act with kindness to others wearing masks, for they act and think out of habit and not necessarily to spite us. We forgive. When people are busy with the mask, we gently let them continue, as wearing the mask is a dangerous task, like walking a tightrope. Many people suffer from a broken mask they are attached to. The flow of transformation. The magic of reconnecting to the infinite is that we learn to move with the flow of the infinite, rather than fighting against it. We know that we're part of a changing infinity, and that we are changing too. We accept that life is change. We learn to dance the dance of change. To deal well with other people is to dance the dance well. We learn to be compassionate, kind, and patient. We are more flexible. To dance is not to live in the past, nor is it to live in the future. To dance and be harmonious is to be always falling into the present. To not dance is to be against the flow. This leads to being tossed and turned and manifests as dissatisfaction and discontentment. Not being sure if one will dance, or attempting to control the dance with the mask, leads to conflict. To be awakened is to understand that much of life's dance is out of our control, and that we must accept this. Things will always change in ways we do not like, so we learn to dance along with the changes as best we can. When things change a lot, we may find it hard. We may cry and wish it weren't so. So we are kind to ourselves, and we are gentle, remembering that life brings a change and that change is not about blame. We laugh, remembering how we forgot to follow the flow and try rejoining the dance. To be awakened is to follow the dance of the infinite and its transitions. Birth and death are transitions in the dance. The dance we are tied to. We come from the dance, and we return to the infinite. And new things come from the dance and return to the infinite. All the time, over and over. It cannot be outwitted. It can only be surrendered to. The final step is not to get stuck in the conflict between the mask and the awakened self. trying to be one or the other. Both are two sides of the same coin. We can integrate the two by accepting ourselves as we are right now without judgment, seeing what is as we engage with life. This skill is like riding a bike. To do it well, you must do it without effort. When you try too hard to do it, you find you can't. Seen in this way, life is serious play or playful work. It cannot solely be play or work. The value of a piece of technology or an idea can be said to be good when it helps us dance. To awaken is to gain wisdom. It is to understand how we have been trapped in the past, to learn from our previous pain and suffering, to decide not to let the mask have complete control, knowing that it may tempt us into doing or thinking things we know won't benefit us. We understand that to bring peace to yourself and others, you must teach yourself to be peaceful. To help Earth is to help yourself. To be gentle with another person or creature is to help yourself. To help others, you first need to know how to help yourself. Without compassion for yourself, compassion is incomplete. To grant yourself help, love, and kindness is to improve the quality of the world. To be awakened is not to be superior or part of a competition with others. It is to become more connected. With this simple story of the infinite, you have glimpsed the awakened, the freed mind.